the especially merciful. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May God's peace, blessings, and mercy be with you wherever you are. Hello and welcome to tonight's Open Dialogue. We have chosen the topic of motherhood for tonight's discussion. The reason we've chosen that is because we are approaching the 20th of Jamadil Akhir, which is the Islamic date of the birth anniversary of Lady Fatima al-Zahra, alayha salam, peace be upon her, the daughter of the Holy Messenger of Allah, Sayyidatu Nisa al-Alameen, the leader of the women of the world, the Lady of Heaven. And we thought the topic of motherhood is an important topic. Also, her birth date is celebrated as the Day of Women or Roze Madar, meaning the Day of Mothers. Is the day when we appreciate our mothers and we show and we celebrate their important role. So, joining us for tonight's discussion, we have our expert guests. We are joined by Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimin, Syed Mohammad Razavi. Syed Mohammad Razavi is a lecturer and a speaker who has represented the School of Ahlebait at numerous centers globally on various media outlets and universities. Currently, he is the head of the Religious Advisory Board at the Shia Islamic Education Society in London, where he deals with family disputes and resolves them according to the Islamic law. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid.
Walaikum assalam. Congratulations to you and everyone for the birth anniversary of Fatima Zahra, salawatullah alayha, especially Imam Zaman, ajjalallah ta'ala.
And congratulations to yourself too. We are also joined by Dr. Yasmin Mohsin. She is a psychiatrist, currently doing her specialist training in child and as adolescent psychiatry, and she's working in the National Health Service in the United Kingdom of Britain. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Yasmin. Pleased that you could join us. Thank you so much. Can you hear us, Dr. Yasmin?
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. It's an important discussion, and I think tonight we are going to
Thank you.
discuss.
Apologies. I think there's a time lag.
Sure, I'll wait. I'll wait for 20 seconds so that the time, so that my voice reaches you, inshallah. So tonight, inshallah, we will touch upon not only just the importance of this Institute of Motherhood, but also the challenges that mothers face in today's time and age, because times have completely changed. So my first question first, would be to you, Syed, first. If you can explain to us the significance of choosing the date of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra as Roze Madar, as the day of appreciating our mothers and women in general.
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. If we look at beginning of Islam as it was introduced by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, although we believe that Allah is wise and he wanted the religion of Islam, which means submission to the will of God, to be the religion from the beginning of the creation of a human being, from Adam until the last day of this earth. The true religion is submission to the will of God. But the way Islam has been introduced and represented and propagated and promoted in the world after Prophet Muhammad SAW is the result of a small cottage, which I would call cottage cottage, which was the university of education and upbringing of the future of Islam, in which the best of the leaders were brought up by the best of the creations of God. If you look at that cottage, the cottage was the family of Ali, Fatima, in which Hassan, Hussain, and Zainab and Kulthum and Mohsin also were the result. And these are the children who became the source of propagation of Islam. So if we look at the center figure of this cottage was Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha. And that is why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to call her Abiha. And she was also known the mother of everyone, not only the household but the community. And since truly she played that role. And today what we see of Islam in the world is due to the hard work of Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha. So it would be definitely right to name the day in which she was born as the day of mothers, and the day of ladies, or day of uh, yani Fatima Zahra salawatullah alayha. So that's why this day has been named after, in Muslim world, of course. In non-Muslim world, there is another day which they celebrate as the Women's or Ladies' Day. But in Islamic world, and especially Shia Islamic world, Fatima Zahra's birth anniversary is considered to be Mother's Day.
Thank you. Dr. Yasmin, I mean, you see women in your clinic on a daily basis at your work. How important it is to actually appreciate this institute of motherhood and to recognize it, um, and to recognize its value.
Assalamu alaikum. So as Sayyidina said, women and especially mothers are extremely important in all of society, and it's really nice and touching description that at the center of this most holy household is Sayyidat Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, and that is a reflection of what we know as well scientifically, as mashallah Islam always is. And in psychiatry, psychology, we know that it's the mother that's central to bringing a healthy child, psychologically as well as physically. And that first year is very important, as are the subsequent years, in laying the foundation for good mental health for the future of the child. And so it's really important that the mother looks after herself so that she's healthy, so that her children can inshallah be healthy.
So,
So it's an important topic.
what are the struggles, Dr. Yasmin, that you see mothers that they present to you in clinic when they come to see you? What are the kind of struggles that you see mothers facing in today's day and age?
So I think it would be good to separate it into struggles around perinatally. So that's around the time of the birth of the child, and the rest of motherhood. Because the time of the birth is important for several reasons. On two separate reasons, really. One is that it can be a very sensitive and delicate time for the mother, and it can be high risk for experiencing mental difficulties. So it's important to look out for those and to get help, self-help or professional help when needed. And then another reason, as I just touched on, is that it's a very important time for the development of the baby, with bonding with the mother, and laying the foundations of the internal world of the child, and how they learn to develop. So that's why it's important to separate the early perinatal period, let's say the first year, with the rest of motherhood. So and that's up until the rest of their life. It's not just until they turn 18, like some people think.
Yeah.
Mothers will be mothers forever, and they
Sure.
can have struggles forever. because if something affects the child, it will affect the mother. So perinatally, we'd often see depression, anxiety, OCD, and one serious presentation of psychosis. Very rare, but very important to pick up because of the high
Is that
risk.
straight after
And
the birth of the child?
so that's a little bit, maybe about it can be straight away or in the months subsequent. But there's something else that's very common and not really so much of a problem, and that's just in the first week after the birth. So that's called the baby blues, and that's very common, and that usually goes away. So if it doesn't go away after 7 days, then it's something to look into. But if it's just a few days, it's a result of the hormones in pregnancy and the changes after delivery, because there's so much hormonal changes. If we think about women that suffer from PMT, premenstrual tension, in their periods, and that's due to hormonal changes. So this is an even bigger level. The hormones in pregnancy are increased a lot more. So then the changes and the drops as the baby is born, that can just affect how people feel and make them feel a bit tearful and not really themselves. But it's mild symptoms and it only lasts for a few days. But what we're interested in is if it lasts longer or if it's something more, if there are delusions involved, and that's the serious side of psychosis. But even just lower level depression, anxiety is still a problem because it will interfere with how the mother is in herself, but also how she's able to form that bond with the child.
Wow,
And then later,
period. What I understand, it's a period of great sensitivity then, the first couple of months after a child is born, because of the changes in the hormones that the woman experiences.
yeah, it can be. It can be. Not necessarily. Not everyone will experience this, but it's just important to be aware so that if something does happen, then the right help is sought and the right support is given to the mother. But
Sure.
it is important to look out for.
Certainly, yes, thank you. Syed, of course, it's the family, starting up of a family nowadays is not exactly that. It varies from culture to culture. So in some families, you have the emphasis of pushing couples to into parenthood very early on. And yet, in Western societies, you have this notion of enjoying life and not entering motherhood until later stages of life. Do you see this affecting Muslim women as well? And from your experience, do you see that what are the effects of late motherhood, if you like?
Well, I mean, we should look at the examples set by uh, the prophets and Ahlebait alayhi salatu wasalam. Uh, Although, I mean, in the life of some prophets, we see late pregnancies, but that's a different story. But as far as the normal practice was that as soon as the girl and the boy reached the age of maturity, they were encouraged to get married, and the families were requested to support and provide the necessary facilities for them. So the children and the young family was brought up under the supervision of elders, and they took care of each other. But nowadays, the society has changed a lot. Young family quite often grows independently, and in many cases, it becomes a difficulty and problem. Regarding Hazrat Fatima Zahra and Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, alayhi salatu wasalam, they had an independent house, and in that independent house. Even Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salatullah alaiha has been narrated as saying to reach a point that she went to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked that the housework is too much, and she needed some kind of support and help. And although Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam uh, paid attention to her and mentioned a greater reward and introduced Tasbihat Fatima Zahra Salatullah alaiha. And again, if you look at into this direction, it's we should not look at Tasbih Fatima Zahra Salatullah alaiha simply. It has great benefits, and of course, it teaches us to get connected to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and establish that missing link, and especially for the mothers who are going through the hardship of their daily life and difficulty. So Prophet Muhammad did give Hazrat Fizza or introduce Hazrat Fizza as a person who would help Fatima Zahra Salawatullah alayha. But she preferred to work and concentrate on upbringing of the children directly herself. And even though Fizza was there, she would consider her as an equal partner in the life who is sharing the responsibilities and duties of the household. And she would give her a rest one day and then work other day, would let her work other day and she would have rest. And while she was resting, Hazrat Fatima Zahra Salatullah alaiha did not stop taking care of the family and children. For her, the greatest responsibility was the household. And unfortunately, in modern days, ladies are made to think that staying in the house or taking care of the family and bringing up a future generation is a very what we call low level job, and it's not respected. But Fatima Zahra Salatullah alaiha practically gave importance to the upbringing of Hassan and Hussain and Zainab and Kulthum, and she did not neglect her husband. She did not neglect her father and the responsibilities of herself as an infallible lady. We believe Fatima Zahra is ma'asuma, and therefore she, as a ma'asuma, had knowledge and awareness of what are the responsibilities of her as a Muslim lady, and the lady who had been referred by her father as Abiha. So she had the responsibility of even taking care of her father. So these are the responsibilities and duties that Fatima Zahra Salatullah anha, took care of and did not neglect herself and did not neglect others in the family. And this is the way she brought up the future generation of Muslims who became the leaders, noble leaders of the Muslim Ummah.
It's a great example you gave, but often we hear also the argument that she's an infallible and we cannot do what she did. And how did she do it? I'll come back to you with this question, Syed, but for now I'll go to Dr. Yasmin. And I'll ask you to elaborate on the point you were making earlier when I asked you about the problems that you see in clinic, and you divided that into two categories of early motherhood and then the struggles that mothers face later on in life with older children. So if you could elaborate more on your points, please. We've lost your volume. We
We
can't
can't
hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay, Sayed, until the sister sorts out her her volume. If you can tell us about the importance of mothers in the Quran and Ahadith, Sayyid.
Yes, I mean, mother is the center figure. Mother is the university of future generation. Mother, if the mother is right, you can guarantee the future of the family, future of the Muslim ummah. So that is, I usually say that in my speeches, especially at the time of marriage, when people are selecting their spouse and future
Yes.
partners. I usually advise the men and the brothers that you should look at the future partner of yourself from a much wider aspect, not only just beauty and attraction and youth and these things. You should also look, is she going to be a good mother for your future generation, because your future children, future generation of Islam, the supporters of Imam Mahdi Ajalullah Ta'ala Farajuhu, would be brought up in the lap of the lady that you are choosing to be married to. So if you choose only a beautiful lady, you may have beautiful children, but they could be the evil for the society, and they could become the source of destruction and problem in the society. So we have to be very careful, especially in selection of our wives for the future. And same thing, ladies should be looking for piety in the husband, and education of religion and awareness of religious responsibilities and duties, like Fatima Zahra Salatullah alaiha looked in Ali. She did not, or she was not accepted for any other person but Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, because Ali was the most suitable person for Fatima Zahra, and Fatima Zahra was the most suitable wife for Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam.
Yes, this what the points you made, Sayyid, actually remind me of the Egyptian poet Hafid Ibrahim, where he says, "Al-ummu madrasatun idha a'dadtaha a'dadta sha'ban tayyib al-a'raqi." So a mother is an institute in itself, and it's a school, madrasa. If you invest in her and you prepare her, then you are in effect preparing generations ahead. But what are the qualities that, and how can we gauge those qualities, say it before marriage? So you just said that we need to look beyond beauty. Um, what are exactly the qualities that we need to be looking in our spouses in order to think of bringing up good generations?
I think it would not be fair if we did not introduce Islam in the words of Fatima Zahra Salatullah alaiha. In one of the khutbahs, in explanation that she gives, a very concise and very brief explanation that she gives about everything of our life. She says that Iman is for the purity of you. To Iman is to purify you from shirk. Shirk means worshipping idols and becoming an infidel. So it is extremely important for a mother to inject Iman first of all in herself, and then in the children. If she does not give importance to Iman in the children, then those children will not be inclined towards Iman, and removing shirk from their life, and arrogance from their life. And then
Mhm.
she says that prayers, 5 times daily prayers, and this is Fatima Zahra's introduction to Islam. She says 5 times
Yes.
daily prayers are prescribed to get rid of arrogance in our life. You can only become humble by submitting yourself in presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and acknowledging that there is a deity, and that deity is called Allah, and He is one and unique, and we are nothing in His presence, and we have to get rid of any kind of arrogance from our life. Then she says zakat. She describes zakat and says that zakat is purification of our soul. and source of increase of our income, and a source of increase of sincerity in our life. So zakat, we may look at a financial matter, but according to Fatima Zahra salawatullah alaiha, giving zakat, giving in charity, has many benefits. It increases the bounty and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes. It purifies our soul, and it increases in our sincerity towards the actions that we do in our life. And then she goes further. Please stop me wherever you want to, because
Yeah,
there is a
this
whole
shows her
list.
knowledge. Yes, this shows her knowledge and her outlook to life and how she explained life to us. It
Hmm.
shows that how knowledge holds importance for the lady and for the mother that you are about to select for your future generations. Is that what you are aiming at, Sayed?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. If she believed this and she transferred this into her children, although her children were infallibles and masooms as well, but she did not neglect her responsibility just because she is infallible, children infallible, husband infallible. It doesn't mean that she should not do the response. She had to set the example of being the best of the mother of the household, and she practically taught this to Hassan and Hussein. And we have how can we learn about this? We have narrations from Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein and Bibi Zainab and Kulthum, that how their mother used to inject these ideas in their mind, and they remembered as child that how their mother was concerned about these issues. And not only she was concerned practically, she did things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had to reveal verses in praising her, especially giving zakat and taking care of the poor and needy in the society. And it reached to the level that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descended a verse of Holy Quran: إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ tathira. And there is a narration that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever he used to go to Fatima Zahra salawatullah alaiha's house, he used to repeat this verse on a regular basis. إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. So Prophet was repeating, first of all, verses of Holy Quran, and he believed that this household is the most purified household. And no wonder why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever hurts Fatima Zahra hurts me, and whoever hurts me has hurts Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever becomes an enemy to Fatima Zahra salawatullah alaiha is Prophet Muhammad's enemy, and whoever is Prophet Muhammad's enemy is enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So these are the result of all these verses that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed in praise of Fatima Zahra salawatullah alaiha.
Right. So, Sayed, now from practical example, you have just shown us the importance of Lady Fatima and how she led her household, and what was her vision and how she brought them up, and what a great example she was to her children to follow. In today's modern time and age, and with the cases that you deal with on a daily basis, you have mentioned earlier that women are leaving the homes because their role as mothers or their roles as homemakers is viewed upon as an inferior role. But how is
Mm.
that affecting families when you see this happening and women leaving their homes to work, whether by choice or whether by force because of meeting life expenses and the materialistic demands that we have? How is this affecting families? How is this affecting their children?
Yes, I mean, the modern world is the result of two world wars that killed a lot of men in the society. And when all these men were killed and the second world war finished, uh, they had no choice but to somehow run the economy of the society. The only way they came up with was bringing the ladies into the field of working, and started to use women. And of course, all the women were brought up as ladies who would have the responsibility of upbringing the children and future generation. So it was not an easy task to change that ideology. So therefore, they tried to bring the ladies into factories, and of course, when they used to wear long garments and dresses, and quite similar dresses to what Muslim women wear, it was difficult for them to get benefit out of the physical benefit out of the ladies. So they gradually introduced shorter and shorter dresses, and usage of less material, and destroyed the whole family unit. Family unit is the smallest unit of the society. If the smallest unit of the society is destructed and destroyed, the society is destroyed. So, unfortunately, this is what the West has done to the society, and unfortunately, now they are introducing uh, unnatural ideas and ideologies which considers a family as a different kind of unit. According to
Yes.
Islamic teachings and all divine teachings, unit of the family consists of men and women and children. So they are going against the nature of human being, and the nature of all the creations of God. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very clearly in Holy Quran says that we have created everything, not only human beings, as in pairs. So when we go against nature and destroy the smallest unit of the society, the result is that the whole society goes down the hill, down the drain.
Sure. I think we have Dr. Yasmin back with us on audio. Dr. Yasmin, can you hear us?
Assalamu alaikum. So sorry, and thank you for bearing with me with the technical difficulties.
That's okay.
So
we have you back, and it's very nice. We can hear you very clearly. So please go ahead with the points you were going to make.
Thank you so much. So I heard some of what Syed was saying, and not all of it, but I definitely agree with what I heard. And it's something that we're seeing as well. So a lot of the problems that we see, they have a social context to them. And it's really important to not forget about this, because although mental health has genetic basis, it has biological basis as well, but it also has social, spiritual basis. And so we have to look at things in a holistic way. And part of this is what Sayyidina was saying earlier. If somebody doesn't have that support around them, then that can make things difficult. So sometimes we see mothers struggle because of this reason. And again, it's not necessarily if somebody is in this situation that they will definitely struggle, but it can trigger it, or it can build up to it and make things worse as well. So if the husband, for example, is not supportive, or he has to go back straight away to work, and there's no one in the family as well, and the mother is quite isolated, this can be problematic for many reasons. So it's obviously a lot of work looking after and raising children, and so just practically it's good to have family around, but also emotionally as well. And it's nice how Zaina was saying that the older family, the parents, the grandparents are there, and especially if they're in good age and good health, and motherhood is not left till too late when the grandparents are too elderly to help. So it's good to have that emotional support and physical support around. And and without it, it can cause problems. And we like to think of things within the mental health world. We think of things in a biopsychosocial way, but those who are religious and others are increasingly recognizing to add the spiritual, so biopsychosocial spiritual. So we think what's going wrong in each of these categories to lead the person to experience the difficulties that they're experiencing, and what in each of these categories can we do to help with this. And it links nicely with what Syed Rizvi was saying about family support and structure.
Yes, certainly. I mean, I would like to also ask you the practical steps that mothers can take to stay on top of things. But before I come back to you, Dr. Yasmin, say it, how crucial is the support system and the extended family support system that, should be offered to mothers?
I mean, I was just thinking while discussing this subject of extended family. Practically, Fatima Zahra Salatullah alayha lived independently, and she had her own house. Although Prophet used to visit her daily, and Hazrat Fiza was helping her. But if you look at the 9 years, especially of the life of Fatima Zahra during Prophet Muhammad's time, uh, were extremely difficult times, and she did not for a minute neglect her responsibilities towards children as a mother and wife. She did not neglect her responsibility towards her husband, who was constantly busy. During this 9 years of period, according to some narrations, up to 60 different battles took place against Muslims. And Ali ibn Abi Talib was almost in all of them. So you can imagine how Fatima Zahra, as a young mother, young lady, just got married and had children, was looking after the family. And the narrations are there that she was also nursing the wounded, organizing the welfare of the family members of the soldiers who had gone to battlefield, and they needed some money and help and food and support. And she also used to take care of the people, who became shaheed. For example, there is narration that she cooked food for Hazrat Hamza when Hazrat Hamza became shaheed. Fatima Zahra cooked food for 3 constant days for his family, and took the food on the instructions of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for Hazrat Hamza and his family, Hazrat Hamza's family, who had become martyr. And she did the same thing with other shohada as well. I had mentioned this before on Shahadat of Fatima Zahra Salawatullah alayha, that Fatima Zahra was a kind of social affairs uh, uh, minister of cabinet of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She took care of the social affairs, especially in relation to the society and families and ladies of the society, and she was quite active in every field.
The Sayed, what you're saying actually shows me her great attitude towards life and towards her duties, and taking them on as a soldier herself, because nowadays single mothers struggle, and sometimes we fall into depression, and because of lack of family support, people are unable to cope, and hence the increase in psychological issues. But yet you are saying that the amount of work that Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha did, and yet when she was overwhelmed, she referred to the dhikr of Allah to give her the strength to carry on, rather than completely fall to mental health issues. But Dr. Yasmin, following on from what you were saying, how can the deteriorating mental health of mothers, if it's unaddressed, how can it affect their children and their families at large?
Thank you. So just to briefly add on to what Sayyidina was saying before I come on to that very important topic. So it's not necessarily that the extended family need to live within the same household, but it's important that we have a community and we have a society. And often I see in this country, in the UK, people are very isolated and they don't really see anyone, they don't go outside. And although Sayyidat Fatima Zahra, salamullahi alayha, she did so much by herself, but she didn't isolate. She still saw her father sallallahu alaihi wasallam regularly, and the important women in her lives regularly. So it's really important to not be cut off, and also seeking strength spiritually is part of that biopsychosocial spiritual model, and also what Sayyidina was talking about, that she played such a role in helping. This is something that helps us as well. We help others. There's so much hikmah in Islam, that whatever is good for other people is also good for us. And there's the sayings, I can't remember if it's in the Quran or a hadith, but the one who works is not equal to the one who does not work, and we were created to be active. And these are things that can help people out of depression, but also can make depression worse. If somebody's not doing anything, they're just sitting at home and just thinking and thinking, that's just going to make depression and anxiety worse. Whereas engaging with society and interacting with people in our lives, that's part of helping recovery and also preventing getting worse. But yeah, sorry, just wanted to add that on because it linked nicely. Going back to your question, so yeah, the mother is at the center of the household, and what affects her does affect everybody. So not just as another person. So if somebody in our house is upset, depressed, angry, it will affect everybody. But the mother is more central as well. And in bringing up the children, mother is more central as well. And in bringing up the children, especially in the first year of life, there's research that says about the primary caregiver, which is usually the mother, because she's the one that breastfeeds or feeds the child, and gives a lot of the care, although it's not just the mother, the father is involved, but she is the primary caregiver usually. So there's research that says that they need, I think, 20 hours a week with the primary caregiver in the first year, and it can be problematic with Western societies and attitudes to maternity leave, or forcing women to work in a way, and it can be tricky to navigate that and to still ensure healthy children and a healthy household. But also what can get in the way is poor mental health, and it's really important to be aware of that and address that. And not everybody who faces challenges, because Sayyidah Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha, she had a lot of challenges, so many in her life, but she faced them and she didn't give in to them. And we have to think, what can strengthen us to be able to face the challenges and not succumb to them. And there can be individual variations, so some people can be more genetically vulnerable, but it's only a small part of the story. So what I was saying earlier about having support, that also helps as well, and also building up internal strength, and having spiritual connections can help with that very much, and also having social connections, being active, doing things, and thinking in the right way as well. It's all really important in keeping healthy and keeping herself healthy, and that will keep the family healthy.
Those are very important practical steps that you have given us, Dr. Yasmin, for mothers to stay on top of things and to tackle their issues. But if when you see mothers in clinic, How do you go about helping them when they come to you with their issues? What help is there available out there, and what are the practical steps after diagnosing the problems that you direct mothers in, apart from what you have just mentioned?
Sure. So I think the most important thing is the first step to assess the situation, and really assess what's going on, what are the problems, what's the diagnosis or what's the main problem, and what's causing these. Is there anything that we can change from this? And what can we do to help them? And what can they do to help themselves as well? And then we would think, is this a mild, is it a moderate, is it a severe problem? Because that also influences what can be done. So if it's mild, often small changes that the person is able to do in their life can help. If it's more moderate or severe, then we would advise medication, because that can help as well. It's not the solution, the only solution, but it's part of that biopsychosocial spiritual model. And medication is only part of bio, because another important part of bio is sleep. That's so important, and it can be so difficult for mothers as well. But if they can get sleep whenever they can, and eventually help their child form a healthy sleep
Sleep and
pattern as well, that will help
nutrition
them.
too.
Sorry?
Sleep and I suppose nutrition as well is something they mothers have to focus on.
Absolutely, absolutely. They may put the nutrition of their children first, but it's really important that they have enough nutrition, because if we don't eat properly, we'll feel exhausted. And if we feel tired, then we'll also feel low sometimes. And it can be a vicious cycle as well. So yeah, definitely nutrition is part of the bio, and also exercise, fresh air, that's also part of the biological. And so that's medication is important, can be important at the more moderate or severe end, but also psychology, and there's different levels of psychology. It doesn't have to be intensive. It can just be something more supportive, and that can work at any level, whether it's a mild or moderate or severe problem. But it's always important to have somebody to talk to, but also it can help change the way that we view things, and the outlook of the Imam alayhim as-salam and the Anbiya alayhim as-salam. They have the correct outlook about life, and we can sometimes have distortions in the way that we think. We might be too negative. We might start saying, oh, I look ugly, or I'm useless, especially in depression, feelings of guilt or worthlessness, and these can be quite exaggerated. So something like CBT, or other types of talking therapies can help get that way of thinking back to how it should be, in a more healthy way.
How you talk to yourself and your self-affirmations are extremely important. Sadly, we are reaching the end of the program, so I would ask both my guests to give their final concluding remarks regarding this topic of motherhood, and the advice to newly becoming mothers, or to those ladies who are already mothers. What is your final concluding remarks, Syed, and what is your advice to all the mothers out there?
There is an Arabic saying, النقش العلم في الصغر كالنقش في الحجر, that knowledge in the childhood is like a carving in the stone in old age. That it stays until old age. So mother is the person who can carve that carving in the mind and life of the child. So if the mother is not right, then the family is not going to be right. Future generation of the society is not going to be right. So we have a responsibility to train our future mothers, which are the future daughters and ladies of our community, in a way that they become the lap of the soldiers of Imam Zamana Ajalallah Ta'ala Farajuhu. And as I quoted the Arabic saying that whatever mother says remains like a carving in the stone forever in the mind of the child. This reminds me of one of my teachers. We had gone to do wudu somewhere, and after doing wudu, this Ayatullah came out, and he did not turn the handle of the door with his wet hand. So I asked him, why? Do you consider this handle as najis? He said, no. Unfortunately, he said, I have no reason to consider this as najis, but I used to look at my mother, how she used to open the door with elbow. So it has, even though I have become Ayatollah, I have no reason to consider this as najis, but this has been carved into my mind that when you are getting out of toilet, when your hands are wet, you just use your elbow to open the door. So this is how whatever you learn and see and witness from your mother at home remains as a carving for rest of your life, even though you become an Ayatollah or great scholar. So we have to choose the mothers of the future generation very carefully.
Great advice and great responsibility. And Dr. Yasmin, what is your final concluding remark regarding this topic of today?
So I would echo what Syed Razavi is saying, and it's interesting that there's already an Arabic description. SubhanAllah, there's always an Islamic or Arabic description pre-Western, and modern psychology has given this a name. It's attachment, and it's true that attachment is crucial for laying the foundation for the rest of a child's life. And we do see children and adults who come back with problems because of the foundation. So in order to lay that foundation, it's really important that the mother looks after herself, feels well in herself, is kind to herself, seeks support when needed, because that will have this great impact on her children and as generations and society. But it's also important for a mother not to feel guilty, because she can only do what she can, and it's not good to look back in Islam about things that have happened in the past, and it's not too late as well, because children are constantly learning. Yes, this first year is important, but so are all of the years, because there's something also called modeling, and children copy what they see in their society, but also crucially in their family home. So if their parents deal with things always in an angry way or a violent way, then that's the language that the child will start to see things in. So it's important for the parents to behave and think and feel how they want their children to become at any age as well. And in order to do this, they have to work on themselves, they have to look after themselves and feel healthy in themselves. So it's all really important.
That's great advice. It's important to seek help and never to stop, reforming habits and reforming yourself and your household. Well, Dr. Syed Radawi and Dr. Yasmin, I'm ever so grateful for your time. Thank you so much. And again, congratulations on this auspicious occasion. Thank you so much, dear viewers, for listening. Congratulations to you. I hope you enjoy the celebrations on Friday of the Lady Fatima Zahra Salamullah alayha's birth.